Picture this. You're sitting in a sterile doctor's office, holding your wife's hand during what should be the happiest moment of your lives, your first ultrasound appointment. Then suddenly, the doctor's hands start shaking uncontrollably, and he whispers the words that will shatter everything you thought you knew. Sir, you need to leave immediately and call a lawyer. What would you do if the math of your wife's pregnancy didn't add up? What if the dates revealed a truth so devastating that it would destroy not just your marriage, but everything you believed about the woman you loved? I'm about to tell you exactly how this nightmare unfolded, and trust me, the moment of revelation will leave you speechless. My name is Paul Scott. I'm 34, work as a construction engineer, and until 2 weeks ago, I thought I had the perfect life. My wife, Rosianna, and I had been married for 5 years. She's a nurse at Phoenix General, beautiful, caring, the kind of woman who remembers everyone's birthday and always has dinner ready when I get home from long days on construction sites. 4 months ago, I took on the biggest project of my career, overseeing the construction of a new medical facility in Flagstaff. It was a 6-month contract that would set us up financially for years. The only catch? I had to live on site during weekdays, coming home only on weekends. Rosianna was supportive, like always. "Go make us rich, honey," she said with that laugh that made me fall in love with her 7 years ago. "I'll hold down the fort here." For 4 months, I worked 16-hour days in Flagstaff, living in a company trailer, missing my wife, but knowing I was building our future. We talked every night, texted throughout the day. She seemed fine, maybe a little stressed about being alone, but nothing unusual. 2 weeks ago, I finally came home permanently. The Flagstaff project was complete, and I was ready to get back to normal life. Rosianna seemed different. She'd gained some weight, which she blamed on stress eating and too much takeout while I was away. She was more tired than usual, going to bed early most nights. Then, last week, she dropped the bombshell that changed everything. The announcement that should have been perfect. "Paul, I have something amazing to tell you," Rosianna said over dinner on a Tuesday night. Her eyes were sparkling with excitement. "I'm pregnant." I nearly choked on my food. "Are you serious?" 8 weeks along," she said, reaching across the table to squeeze my hand. "I found out a few days after you got back, but I wanted to be sure before I told you." The timing seemed perfect. I just finished the biggest project of my career, and now we were going to be parents. I felt like everything in my life was falling into place. I said, "We need to schedule an appointment. I want to be there for everything." She smiled. "Already done. Dr. Radin Bevere at Women's Health Center. He's supposed to be the best. Thursday at 2 p.m. I remember thinking how lucky I was. My wife had thought of everything. Thursday arrived, and we drove to the Women's Health Center together. Rosianna seemed nervous, which I attributed to normal first pregnancy jitters. She kept checking her phone and adjusting her shirt. Dr. Radin was a distinguished man in his 50s with silver hair and kind eyes. He'd been practicing obstetrics for over 20 years according to the diplomas on his wall. This wasn't his first ultrasound. "Congratulations," he said as he prepared the equipment. 8 weeks, you said?" "That's right," Rosianna confirmed, settling back on the examination table. I pulled my chair closer, excited to see our baby for the first time. Dr. Bevere applied the gel and began moving the ultrasound wand across Rosianna's belly. At first, he was chatting casually, explaining what we were seeing on the monitor. Then something changed. His casual conversation stopped mid-sentence. His brow furrowed as he stared at the screen, moving the wand to different positions. He measured something, and then measured it again. "Is everything okay?" Dr. Bevere didn't answer immediately. He was taking more measurements, his expression growing more serious with each calculation. That's when I noticed his hands had started shaking. Not a little tremor, full-on shaking, like he'd seen something that terrified him. "Doctor," Rosianna's voice was tight with worry, "is the baby okay?" Dr. Bevere looked at the screen one more time, then at Rosianna, then at me. The color had drained from his face. "Sir, You need to leave immediately and call a lawyer. The words hit me like a physical blow. The room went silent, except for the hum of medical equipment. "What did you just say?" I asked. Dr. Bever's hands were still shaking as he wiped sweat from his forehead. "The baby is perfectly healthy," he said carefully, "but what I'm seeing on this screen shows 16 weeks of development." 16 weeks. I felt the blood drain from my face as I did the math. 16 weeks ago, I was living in a trailer in Flagstaff, working 16-hour days, 3 hours away from home. "That's impossible," Rosianna said quickly. "I told you I'm 8 weeks pregnant. I found out just after Paul got home." Dr. Bever looked at me with something like sympathy in his eyes. "Sir, fetal measurements don't lie. Based on bone length, organ development, and overall size, this pregnancy is 16 weeks along. Conception would have occurred approximately 4 months ago." 4 months ago. Right in the middle of my time in Flagstaff, when I was only coming home on weekends. "There has to be a mistake," Rosianna said, but her voice had changed. The confidence was gone, replaced by something that sounded like panic. I looked at my wife, really looked at her. The weight gain that I'd attributed to stress eating, the loose-fitting clothes she'd been wearing since I got back, the way she'd been going to bed early, claiming exhaustion. And then I remembered Noah Sanchez. Our neighbor Noah had been helping Rosianna with yard work while I was away. She'd mentioned him several times during our phone calls. "Noah fixed the sprinkler system," or "Noah helped me move that heavy patio furniture." I'd been grateful to have such a helpful neighbor looking out for my wife. Now, sitting in that doctor's office with the truth of the timeline staring me in the face, I understood exactly how Noah had been helping my wife. "I need copies of everything," I said to Dr. Bever. "The measurements, the images, all of it." "Paul, what are you doing?" Rosianna's voice was rising. "I'm scaring you." But I wasn't looking at her anymore. I was thinking about phone calls that had gotten shorter over the months. Evening book club meetings that seemed to run late. The way she'd been so insistent about me being there for this ultrasound appointment. She'd wanted me here. She'd wanted me to see this ultrasound, to believe the 8-week story, to commit to raising Noah Sanchez's child as my own. The realization hit me like a sledgehammer. The drive home was the longest 20 minutes of my life. Rosianna kept talking, filling the silence with explanations that made less sense with every word. "Maybe they mixed up my file with someone else's," she said, her hands twisting nervously in her lap. "Medical mistakes happen all the time, right?" I kept my eyes on the road, but my mind was racing. 4 months ago, when I was working those brutal 16-hour days in Flagstaff, coming home exhausted every Friday night, leaving early Monday mornings. "Or maybe the ultrasound machine was calibrated wrong," she continued desperately. "Those things are just computers, right? Computers make errors." We pulled into our driveway. The house looked exactly the same as when we'd left 2 hours ago. Same desert landscaping, same red tile roof, but everything felt different now. "Paul, please say something," Rosianna said as we sat in the parked truck. "You're making me nervous." I looked at her. Really looked at her. 5 years of marriage, and I was seeing a stranger. "When are you due?" I asked. "What?" "If you're 16 weeks pregnant, when is the baby due?" Her mouth opened and closed like she was trying to calculate the best answer. The doctor didn't say exactly." 24 weeks from now. 16 plus 24 equals 40. You're due in 6 months, not 7.5. Inside the house, I went straight to our home office. Rosianna followed, chattering nervously about getting second opinions and finding better doctors. I opened the desk drawer where we kept our bills and bank statements. I'd never had reason to look through them carefully before. What I found made my blood run cold. Credit card statements showing charges at restaurants during weekdays when I was in Flagstaff, movie tickets purchased in pairs, gas receipts from a vehicle that wasn't mine. Noah drove a distinctive red pickup truck. "Paul, what are you looking for?" Rosianna asked from the doorway. I held up a restaurant receipt. Dinner for two at Romano's Italian, 3:47 p.m. on a Wednesday. I was in Flagstaff that day. Her face went white. I took my sister out for lunch." "Your sister lives in California." Silence. I found another receipt. 2 movie tickets for the 7:30 showing of Midnight Romance, also a Wednesday, also when I was in Flagstaff. "Paul, please, let me explain." But I was already looking at the phone bills. Hundreds of calls to a number I recognized, Noah Sanchez's cell phone, starting about 2 weeks after I left for Flagstaff, some calls lasting hours, especially late at night. The final piece was a receipt from a women's clinic dated 3 months ago, prenatal vitamins and a pregnancy test. She'd known she was pregnant for 3 months. She'd had all that time to figure out how to handle the situation, and her plan had been to convince me the baby was mine. "How long?" I asked, not turning around from the desk. "Paul, whatever you think you found, there's an explanation for everything." I turned to face her, holding the phone bill. "How long have you been sleeping with Noah?" The question hung in the air like a toxic cloud. Rosianna's face went through a series of expressions: surprise, denial, fear, and finally resignation. "It's not what you think," she whispered. "How long?" Her shoulders slumped in defeat. "Since about a month after you left for Flagstaff." 3 months, almost my entire time away. "The baby?" She was crying now, but I felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, just a cold, calculating clarity. "I don't know," she said. "It could be yours. The timing—" "Rosianna," I kept my voice level, "we both know it's not mine." She looked up at me with mascara running down her cheeks. "What are you going to do?" I was already walking toward the door. "I'm going to call a lawyer." The next few weeks were a blur of legal consultations and evidence gathering. My lawyer, a sharp woman named Rebecca Chen, was impressed by how thoroughly I'd documented everything. "This is one of the clearest cases of adultery I've seen," she said, reviewing the credit card statements, phone records, and ultrasound report. "The timeline makes paternity impossible." The DNA test, ordered by the court, confirmed what we all knew: 0 probability that I was the father. The divorce proceedings were swift. Arizona law was clear about asset division in cases of proven adultery. I kept the house, most of our savings, and Rosianna was ordered to reimburse me for the marital funds she'd used during her affair. Noah Sanchez, it turned out, was married with 2 kids. When his wife learned about the affair through the court documents, she filed for divorce too. Word spread quickly through our neighborhood, then through the construction community where Noah worked. By the time everything was settled, both Noah and Rosianna had moved out of state. The resolution. 6 months later, I was sitting on my back porch, looking out at the desert sunset. The house felt different now, cleaner somehow, like I'd removed something toxic from my life. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Paul, I had the baby. A girl. I named her Emma. I'm sorry for everything." I stared at the message for a long time, then deleted it without responding. The truth is, I dodged a bullet that day in Dr. Bevery's office. His shaking hands and whispered warning saved me from raising another man's child for the next 18 years. They saved me from living a lie that would have destroyed me eventually. Sometimes betrayal comes from the people you trust most.
Sometimes the person sleeping next to you every night is living a completely different life. And sometimes the most shocking revelations come from the most unexpected places, like a routine doctor's appointment that exposes years of deception. The lesson I learned? Trust, but verify. Mathematics doesn't lie. Ultrasound measurements don't lie. People do.
So here's my question for you. If you discovered that your entire relationship was built on a lie this devastating, how would you handle it? Would you fight for the marriage, or would you walk away like I did? Let me know in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to Hidden Hearth for more shocking true stories that reveal the hidden truths in seemingly perfect relationships. Thanks for watching, and remember, sometimes the most important discoveries happen when you least expect them.